Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was Disney's first feature-length film and the catalyst for the now iconic Disney Princess franchise. If you're anything like me, you don't know a lot about Snow White. She was never my favorite Disney princess, I can't really quote any lines from the film, and I haven't rewatched it constantly like I have with my notable favorites. To be honest, I've always found Snow White a little bit boring. Several remakes and renditions have managed to hold my attention, but they typically stray far, far away from the original. A few weeks back, I did a video on the development of Disney's original Mulan and found out that Mulan was essentially the Snow White of the Florida studio. But in order to fully contextualize that information, I needed to understand the impact of Snow White. So today, we will not only be looking at the development of the film, but also the impact it had on the Disney brand. Prior to the creation of Snow White, Disney mainly focused on shorts that revolved around the original character Mickey Mouse. Those were preceded by a series that featured a little girl stuck in an animated world. Disney was viewed as innovative and artistic, which only led me to question the 180-degree turn from an original character to a storybook character like Snow White, and from shorter pieces to more long-form content. Apparently, despite his 4 Academy Awards, he realized that a feature film could be incredibly lucrative and would place his studio on the map. From what I understand, Snow White was Walt Disney's passion project. He apparently said that we had decided there was only one way we could successfully do Snow White, and that was to go for broke, shoot the works. There could be no compromise on money, talent, or time. And believe me, he took his time. The film took in total 3 years to make and was truly innovative for its time. Disney originally faced quite a bit of opposition when it came to Snow White. Several people, including his wife, doubted that audiences would sit through an hour or so of animation. Walt's goal to keep the audience's attention was to create a complete fantasy world. And what better way to do that than to bring a famous fairy tale to life? One factor that drew the staff to the film was all of the opportunities that the Seven Dwarfs presented. They initially had 50 possible names, and they only got weirder as I went down the list. They included Shorty, Lazy, Burpy, Baldy, Nifty, Wheezy, Hickey, Swift, and for some reason, Gabby. At this point, I could add any adjectives to the list and it would fit right in. So here's a list I compiled of fake names. They also seemed to have fun with the Queen's character, specifically planning out all of the different ways that she could plot against Snow White, as well as the extent of her powers. And apparently the original idea for the film was to make it as comedic as possible. Walt Disney allegedly gave $5 to every person who could come up with a funny gag. However, I don't really remember Snow White as being that funny of a story, especially compared to Disney's current repertoire. And that's due to the fact that Walt eventually decided to turn the tone of the film around because he felt like the comedic nature of their outline took away from the plausibility of the film. But if you think about it, nothing is plausible about magic mirrors and true love's kisses. Walt also realized that he wanted the staff to focus more on developing the Queen and Snow White, as well as establishing their relationship. I high-key wish they kept some of their plans pertaining to the prince. Some of the original ideas included trapping him in some sort of dungeon that was filling with water and being saved by Snow White's beloved woodland animals. This was ultimately cut out because of 2 possible reasons. Either to reduce the runtime, or because animators weren't comfortable, experienced, or skilled enough to pull it off. I couldn't help but feel disappointed that these ideas didn't make it to the screen because I feel like it would have made him more memorable and solidified his character or his feelings for Snow White, because I honestly have no memory of him. I think one of the most interesting concepts I came about while researching this film is the character design and conceptualization. The costumes have clear influences from Scandinavian color schemes like rich blues and yellows, and the silhouettes are clearly influenced by fashion during the 20s and 30s. Interestingly enough, Snow White's now iconic dress went through quite an evolution. If we take a look at these early sketches, they look very different than the original form of the dress. Animators used a technique called rotoscoping, which is when they use live-action film to help them navigate the mammoth task of frame-by-frame hand-drawn animation. In the rotoscoping footage I could find, we can see aspects of the iconic dress such as the puffed sleeves and high collar. However, most sources say the dress was originally a pale yellow with a deep blue cloak, but I found one source that claimed the dress used in early camera tests was actually pink. Yeah, that was my reaction too. Thank God they eventually landed on the dress we love and know today. Another character with an interesting design is the Evil Queen. She's mainly credited to Joe Grant, and he decided to make her angular to juxtapose the softness of Snow White. In my personal opinion, the Queen's design is one of the most influential aspects of the film. Her silhouette clearly influenced the design elements of Maleficent and Jafar, and her color scheme, which consists of deep jewel and berry tones, are present in many villains such as Ursula, Mother Gothel, and Dr. Facilier. In all honesty, I tend to lump the original trio of princesses in the same basket because they pretty much all have the same qualities to me, although I will admit that I favor Cinderella. They represent the ideal attributes of women at that time. Although I used to view that as a bad thing, and in some ways it can be, I've learned to see it in a positive light. Just as much strength can be found in femininity as there is in masculinity. I think the newer version of these princesses are positive role models that preach things like kindness and caring for others, which are great attributes. Snow White also influenced Disney's habit of making all of their Disney princess films musicals because of the astounding success of the soundtrack. Walt Disney wanted to incorporate music into the film that was meaningful and relevant to the scenes and characters, which I think is what informed the success of the music. The songs are also a great way to make particular scenes and turning points memorable. For example, Bippity Boppity Boo, or I'll Make a Man Out of You.
Put them together and what have you got? Bippity Boppity Boo.
I immediately associate each song with specific scenes. In hindsight, it's no surprise that Snow White was such a hit in 1937. Many of the initial skeptical critics of the film were amazed when it was released. It was praised for the realistic animation and its stellar soundtrack. Fun fact, it was actually the first movie to have a soundtrack, which is absolutely wackadoodle, but I guess they had to start somewhere. The film went on to win an honorary Oscar as well as 7 miniatures, and has a lasting mark on not only the Disney brand, but also pop culture. Thank you for listening to me ramble about an 83-year-old film. Leave any questions, critiques, and feedback in the comments, and I'll see you next time.